Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's still morning. Welcome. 90K reasons why security is a must. And the reason I got this talk was about a year ago, a colleague of mine says, hey, I found this on GitHub. And so I looked. And I just typed in extension PHP, mysql query, $get. And back then I had like 90K results. This is a year later, we're already over 200,000. So I did a check this morning. We're almost at 228,000 hits. And if you look at the code, this is what people use in their projects. Yes, wow. I call this a very, very dangerous occurrence. This is not good for you, this is not good for the community, and especially not good for PHP, because this is the reason why PHP gets the bad name. So, basically, we as community members, as people that have influence, for us it's a never-ending job to create the awareness about security is really important. And one of the things that people ask me, so why should I bother? And let me put it more in an understandable perspective. I mean, this is something that we see on a daily basis. It is something that is real. This is happening every single day. And I hate to read about your company making the headlines in this way. You know? And people say, oh, I'm a small business, we have no hackers coming to us. Yes, you are. You are a target. Maybe not directly, but indirectly you might be a target because one of your customers is one of those major corporations. And we all know what happened with Target. They weren't hacked directly. They went through an intermediate. So yes, you are a target. You should pay a lot of attention to security. Because what is the most important thing people are looking for? Email addresses. First of all, spammers. They love email addresses. And especially if they can get it from a source that has active email addresses. Because those email addresses, well, at least those spam messages will be read. Those spam messages will be sent out to people actively using those accounts. So email addresses are very valuable and they are being sold for a lot of money on the black market. So if you have a website that does email address collection, has username password protection, well, be aware that a lot of users out there, they are using a single password for all their sites. Starts off with Facebook, maybe they have Stripe, maybe they use Google Apps, maybe they store stuff in Evernote. The problem is that they keep on using the same username password combo on all these sites. You as a web application developer, you cannot prevent this from happening, but you can create awareness about this. One of the things that I advise a lot of customers is please put a link for one of the password managers like LastPass, 1Password, Roboform. I know it's something that you should that is not part of your business, but creating awareness to the people that you serve is a first step in making a more secure internet available. I also advise people to at least have a look at the two-factor implementation of Google. It's called two-step verification. People can download a small app on their mobile phone, creates a generic number that allows people to have a secondary line of defense on having accounts protected. If that is too difficult to implement, just send out an SMS, a text message. Twilio is perfect for that. You can even have like a phone call being made to that user, and it will pronounce the numbers that will be checked against. So it's not something that you need to implement, but it is something that you should implement. Protecting the user, because you are a web developer, you have that knowledge. Your end user might not have this, but you need to educate him and guide him and make him feel more secure working with your applications. So, who is after your data? Who is the guy that actually starts hacking? Well, my son, when he was 3, downloading all kinds of applications. And yeah, if these kind of kids hack into your system, maybe you should think about a different career, because now you can download the tools that these kids download and apply these on your own application. You should be protected against this. This is common exploitation of SQL injections, cross-site scripting kind of thing. If these tools hack into your system, yeah, sorry, go find another career. PHP programming is not your thing. The next level is your amateur hacker. Persons that want to learn the skills of hacking, and most likely you as a developer, you will be part of this group, amateur hacking, because you want to learn about how the hackers actually try to infiltrate into your system. The only difference between you and an amateur hacker on the internet is you don't actually go hack other websites. You're going to use tools for that. Amateur hackers, they just want to try things out that they have read on the internet. Then there is the professional hacker. They have a distinct goal. They want to break into your system, and they get paid to do so. If these guys break in, yeah, it's bad. And there's not a lot of things that you can do about it, because these people are security professionals. They know more about system than your whole team knows together. They have a distinct goal. They want to achieve either your data, or they want to break into your system to connect to a bigger fish. But they have a goal and they want to achieve it. As they get paid to do so, you cannot really protect yourself against this group, but you can make it really expensive for them to get into your system. And what you can do is hope that they go on to a less expensive victim. But you cannot really stop these kind of guys. Most of the time it's the business competition that hires these kind of guys. So if you're in a very competitive market, yeah, it could be that your competitor is hiring one of these security specialists to see how they can break into your system. And of course, we don't want to forget the government. This is not the Apple Store unit. This is GCHQ in the UK, Ministry of Defense. And they want to hack your system because it's part of their fight against terrorism. They have unlimited budgets, they have unlimited resources. You probably don't even know that they're on your system until all of a sudden they come saying, okay, we've got this data and we want to have this additional information. Then you go, how you get this first information, how you got this, but it's all classified. But yeah, you cannot do a lot against these kind of governments. I'm taking the Western European governments as an example, but don't forget you have governments also in the East that are really, really after data. The Chinese government, some Korean governments are infiltrating all kinds of systems. There's not a lot you can do against it, but knowing that these kind of things exist makes you more aware about how you distribute your information. So what can you do against this? Well, first of all, you need to pay attention to the cultural differences. I'm from Europe, and in Europe we have a very strong law against protecting privacy first, because we already agreed that there is no guarantee for 100% security. What I've noticed here in the US is that secure as much as possible, but there's less concern for privacy information. I'm not really sure if that's 100% true, but this is what I got from talking to a lot of businesses. Yeah, cultural differences can make your choices in applying security a little bit different. We in Europe, we have a European law that declares that the storage of privacy-related data must be registered. You need to store this separately, so you cannot have identifiable information on the same system, and everything needs to be encrypted. The moment that there is a computer breach or a system breach, you need to report this. If you fail to report this, you end up losing your business and might go to jail. I don't know how it is here in the US, but yeah, in Europe we're very keen on protecting the privacy of everyone. Of course, there are architectural considerations. If you're using a homegrown framework, is there someone here in the room using a homegrown framework? Okay, just a quick question to the few people. Are you aware that you need to apply security patches and updates regularly? Yeah? How is that going? Okay, so you already noticed that it's a burden, it's a lot of trouble. Anyone doing audits on this? Have a security firm doing audits on your homegrown? Yeah, I see a few people. Okay, cool. Well, if you have this homegrown thing, you need to have audits occurring on a regular basis. Even if you use community or third-party frameworks, you still need to have some sort of an audit to figure out, okay, is this really protecting my system? The nice thing is, the audits will discover some flaws and you can contribute this back to a open source project. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. It might seem obvious, but there are still companies where people can just walk into the data center. You don't want to have that. If you have an on-premise data center, make sure you have every security measurement in place that no one that has no business there can enter that room or that basement or whatever. I was once at a company and I was invited, okay, we do a tour of the company, and basically we had to go through the data center to go to the cantina to have a drink. So yeah, it's a poor decision on the company, but yeah, if that's the infrastructure, you don't want to have these racks open and be easily accessible. Another layer that you can implement is securing your network. The most obvious things: use SSL certificates, VPN, private tunnels between your system and your business. And one of the things that people tend to forget, don't let them expire. There's a lot of SSL certificates out there that have expired for a couple of years already. So yeah, you really need to implement the updates on a regular basis. Put the expiration date in a group calendar and have a notification about so before it expires, just to be aware that, okay, we need to upgrade our certificates. And take extra care for privacy data. Like I said, we have strict regulations in Europe. We need to separate the data from the privacy data. Maybe that would be a good solution also. If you have an email address and a password, store it on one database and have the rest of the information stored somewhere else. Because it's all about identifiable information. If you store someone's birthday, someone's address, that can already be used for personal fraud. They can impersonate this person, get like a birth certificate, and so on and so on and so on. You don't want to have that. So separate those kinds of data. And if possible, use encryption when you store this kind of data. This is sensitive data. If a hacker has access to your database, it's still encrypted. He doesn't have access to the encrypted version. You can use a key that's stored on some other system where the hacker has no access to. So it's all about locking down your application. Provide as many locks as you can. Same thing as you go to, who has been to a prison? Not to be sentenced to prison, but just had a tour of a prison. Okay. How is that system works? Do you have like one gate at the front and you walk in and that's it? Or you have like multiple segments before you actually get to the jail cells? It's staged, right? So you have like multiple sections. That's the reason. People can breach one level and then they face another level. So it takes more time to get into the prison or to break out of a prison. That's the same thing that you need to apply as well. Provide as many thresholds that will slow down anyone breaking in, because at that time, hopefully your monitoring system will already send out alerts. Have security checkpoints in place. When you have personal data, when it needs to be modified, ensure that it's done by the right people. So everything that modifies personal data, at least ask again for passwords. That's one of those things that you can do. Verify that the IP address is still the same as the user that was logging in. If it's a different IP address, have him logged out the session and start re-authenticating all over. Also, track movements. Log everything, not just to figure out what happened when something goes wrong, but also detect abnormalities. If users of your applications use your application between 9 AM and 5 PM, any activity at 8 PM is considered to be suspicious. So see in the usage of your application where the abnormalities are. And focus on, okay, what is going on when at 8 PM someone is accessing your system. Codes. We're all developers here, so have your code reviewed by another team member before it goes into the repository. Who uses a tool like Jira and or GitHub Fabricator? Yeah, okay. This allows you to, okay, I have this code, it's ready for going into production. Ask your team member to at least have a look at it, because maybe you were so busy and you were completely in the zone, but you forgot about one major thing. If your colleague looks at it, he might detect that flaw. If not, at least you have a second pair of eyes looking over your code. Also, try to automate as much as possible. Use tools that test and sanitize your code. PHP unit code sniffer are good examples of that. Also, benchmark and profile your applications to see what are the bottlenecks in your application. So these bottlenecks might be exploited. Bottom line is, security is not an afterthought. Security should be implemented from the beginning. If you already have a legacy application and you say, okay, well, it all makes sense, so I should apply security. Yes, you should implement it immediately, but you probably will face a lot of issues where you go like, okay, we cannot have this code any longer because we need to refactor it. Make it a priority. If you have a lot of tasks that you need to do as a developer, put security as the top one priority to do, because I don't want you to be on the headline news of any paper. You all probably know this this cartoon, right? Right. This is probably the best example why security is a must. You need to sanitize your data always, and even if you're not using a framework, or at least use the PHP filters and validate functions. They're there for a purpose. Use them correctly and apply them at the moment that you're facing data that's not something that you created yourself. A good example is, in Europe we have these cameras. They read off your license plate. But what if you do something like this? It's a camera. What can go wrong, right? Again, always sanitize your data. I see people taking pictures. Oh, good. Also, use the right tool for the job. Choose the technology based on the purpose, not on favorism. Make sure that you understand whatever tool that you're using, what are the security implementations, what are the security risks of that particular tool. Go see, if you use a framework, an open source framework, go to the issue tracker, see if there are security related issues reported. If you have a little bit of time and knowledge, see if you can fix some of those security issues first. Know your risk will give you a better knowledge about how you can protect your application in the future. One thing I do want to recommend, mysql query. Don't ever use this again, please. Use at minimum an abstraction layer like PDO, or use the abstraction layers provided by your framework. They give you more tools, more features, and more protection in the long run. Because it's all about layered security. You need to add layers and layers and layers to prevent people just walk right in and reach your data. But you know all this, right? You know that you need to be aware of this, you need to implement this. But I get a call when people are already in the mess. They are victims of an attack. Who has been hacked here? Okay. Everyone else not raising their hand. Do you know? It sounds silly, but many companies don't even know that they are a victim of hacking. Monitoring, logging your application, your usage, helps you identify it, and if all else fails, Beth Tuckalong has a good talk about what to do when you are hacked. So you should probably go out there and review the slides there. The biggest problem with hacking is shame. Businesses are ashamed to admit they have been hacked. It's all panic internally, but they don't want the outside world to know. I know it's hard, but you need to inform your users. Like I said earlier, in Europe you have even a duty to report the security breach to the government and law enforcement. Most of the time you're not able to solve the problem yourself. Get security advice. You need to have someone that assists you in discovering, okay, what's the breach, what's the damage, what is being compromised, what can we salvage. Get external help. The people that raised their hands, did you guys had external help for this? Silence. Now, you need experts. I know a lot of businesses and a lot of developers have a great deal of knowledge about, okay, what can be done, what cannot be done, but hacking is even one level higher. If someone breaches into your system, you need to figure out, is there malware laying around? Is there something that gives the hacker that penetrated your system once access to your system all over again, because he has a backdoor somewhere? You need experts to figure that out. It costs a lot of money, especially after something has happened, but yeah, you need to have this. And there are some people that want to keep it shut, but maybe you want to tell the world what happened, what was the attack vector, and what you did to resolve the issue. Who remembers the PHP fog incident? Okay. After the deal, they were very open about this, and the way that they described on their blog how they actually penetrated their system was reason for other businesses to re-evaluate their security approaches and protect their own businesses against this form of hacking. You're already hacked. Nothing can be done about it. But inform the world so others might not be hacked the same way that people hacked your system. I know it's tough, but be open about this. It's also your turn. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do. First of all, you can spread the word about security. Everything that I displayed here is common knowledge. Everyone knows this. I just packed it all together in one single presentation. Also comment on bad practices. Like I said, there are 228,000 hits on GitHub, and I was just searching for mysql query. Eval, exec, you also get hits. Astonishing number of hits. So if you come across a project and you see this kind of behavior, point it out. Is there someone that knows how to send private messages to GitHub here? No, because I couldn't find it. So you need to find out the email address of the project owner, or at least make an issue saying, hey, something is wrong here. But you also need to be careful, because yeah, pointing out something bad is happening, it can be a little bit shady there. But yeah, reach out to the people, point out of bad practices, and make people aware about this is not the way that you should write code. Also, learn about the risks. You probably have heard of OWASP. The project is out there to raise the awareness for developers. They have a top 10 list of most common attack vectors. Every year the top 1 and 2 switches, but overall it's always the same 10 attack vectors that that hackers use. So go to the OWASP project, search for the top 10 list, and know about how hackers attack your systems. Also learn about the basics of hacking. There's this site called hackme. It's like a tutorial. You start off very slowly with easy attack vectors, and then you go and grow into more complex hacking systems. It's a community-driven tutorial platform. As a developer, go look at it. It will give you more insight about the way hackers think, the way hackers want to penetrate your system, and how they actually can do this. So just try it out and do a session once a month at least. There's also a hack cheat sheet. It's ha.ckers.org. This one is only focused on SQL injection, but it uses all kinds of encryption and modifications. So have a look at it and run this on your own application to see if you're really protected. I tend to use unit testing. All the stuff that I found on the OWASP, they also publish some of the most common exploits. I just add those exploits to my test unit, and all I have to do is run my test and see if I'm protected or not. So having it automated gives me an advantage, because I can have this test over and over and over again. Of course, there are books out there, and thankfully for Chris Cornett, he wrote 2 books. I can really recommend these books. They give you a better insight on what security is all about and what you need to look out for. And thanks to Chris, I'm able to raffle 2 books. So my first question is, 2 months ago, I did a search on GitHub. How many hits did I had? Just raise your hand. Yes, sir? 208,000. 208,000. Okay, that's one. Other question. Chris, you know the question? A good question?
If you could come up with a question that maybe
That's a good one. I haven't checked recently, so I have no clue. But yeah, Chris, can you verify the number 1 on the OWASP? So what is the number 1 attack on the OWASP website?
Cross-site scripting?
Sorry?
Cross-site
Cross-site screen? Yeah, okay, so that's 2. Come and see me after the talk. So 2 books already out. Chris also has this PHP security checker. It's a static parser of your PHP code. He created about a month ago. Sorry?
Now it's injection.
Okay. All right. So it's a static parser. You will be able to learn more about this parser tonight at the hackathon. So if you're interested about more secure applications, go check us out and join us at the hackathon. Another good resource is this book. Who has this at his office? Okay. That's not even a third of this room, so the next time I'm asking this question, I want to see everyone's hands up. This Bible was written by Chris Shiflett back in 2005. It had updates in 2007. It is still valid today. This book is something every developer needs to have on his desk. So if you don't have it, go order it online. It's money well spent. If you're dealing with privacy data or you're dealing with financial medical data, Alison Giannato, also known as Snipey, has created a security checklist that you can just download and apply within your own organization. It's a mind-blowing checklist that, well, when I looked at it, I was checking off boxes, and then all of a sudden I came to the conclusion that a lot of these things I didn't even thought about. So just go to the link, and the presentation will be up at, on the internet, so you can download it. You just have to click on the links and you will get there. So yeah, it's really a recommendation. Just to do like a internal check, a personal check. Did I cover most of these things? And yeah, all I can say is, may the force be with you. Are there questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned the one tool that you said just came out last month, but are there other tools to help identify some of these common, especially for automation?
Yes. So the question is, are there tools out there to automate security checks? Yes, there are. These are called pen test tools. If you look on the internet, they probably have a bunch of them. Most of them are proprietary, so you need to pay for it. IBM has a rich security test suite that you can use. It tackles all kinds of penetrations on web applications. But yeah, it's most of them are proprietary. I haven't found a good open source tool that does that. Maybe Chris knows.
Well, I'm not sure if it's open source, but there's one called Skipfish.
Skipfish? Okay. So yeah, you need to check out that one. But yeah, the difficulty is that each web application behaves differently. So having a tool that covers everything for everyone is kind of hard to find and hard to build. Most of these penetration applications, they require a lot of configuration up front. But yeah, like I said, it's proprietary, so you can also get like support and consultancy on that along with that. Any other questions? Yes, sir?
Are there any frameworks out there that really take security seriously, like building in CSR protection or contextual output, coding, that kind of thing?
Are there any frameworks out there that take security seriously? Actually, there are. If I look at Symfony, if I look at Zend Framework, if I look at Aura, these frameworks come equipped with filtering, validation tools. They have form protection with cross-site request forgery tokens. They apply all the best practices about securing your application. But it's often because the developer is either too lazy or doesn't have the time to implement all these features that these frameworks are often referred to as not being secure. But every modern framework, especially the bigger ones, apply these security features. Yes? Was someone else there with a question? Yes, sir?
Just a comment. It's one of those where it's education. I have different banks, and one enabled the two-step verification, and I jumped right on it, and then I called the other bank, and I said, do you guys have this, and I would like to turn it on, and they got it, and I was like, oh, you don't need that, that's not going to do much for you. Like, if you're a bank, you're a big bank.
Yes, so the comment is about, okay, one bank wants to implement two-step authentication, is really happy about that, and then you have another bank that says, why do we need that? Well, I do a lot of consulting, so my role for a company is to advise them on the best practices. I can give them good arguments why they should implement it and what might happen if they don't. If you're an employee for a particular company, your role is maybe not that easy to address the issue, but often you need to educate your customers, create awareness with your customers to show them what can happen if you don't apply this kind of feature. Again, you need to have that knowledge up front in order to communicate that kind of knowledge. But tools like hack.me are very good examples to get you started on the basic knowledge of hacking. And again, the two-step verification of an identity, I'm not saying it's a must, it's an advantage. So once a user has been authenticated, a second authentication will really confirm this is the user, unless a hacker has a hold on his account and his cell phone. So finding that balance is, at least we have like now 99.95% guarantee it's that user. So you can also use token-based authentication. In Europe we have identity cards with personal certificates, so you can actually have people authenticate using their ID card. This also requires that you need to ship middleware to the customers, like card readers, in order to be able to do so. It all depends on what your business is all about. If it's very private financial information, medical information, you want to apply more layers of security. If it's, I'm just goofing around because I want to know the mood of our users, finding that balance between, okay, what's important data and what is not so important data is something you need to figure out yourself. But in the case of banks, yeah, create that awareness. Please push it forward, showing them, okay, this can happen when you don't apply this. All right? Questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. If you like this talk, please give me a 5-star rating and join in. If you don't, please tell me how I can improve this talk, because I really want to bring this talk further in the future. I will also put the link to the slides on Join In. So if you go for my presentation, give me some feedback, and it's a win-win situation there. If you say, hey, I really like to know more about this, come and visit me after the talk, or send me an email, and we can see how we can work things out. I also have stickers for securing PHP. So after this talk, come up front and I will be able to hand them out. And all I can say is thank you very much for your attention, and have a good conference.